Hello and welcome to our analysis of iCAT24, the penultimate mock in our All India National Level CAT test series. So, you would have taken at least 15 to 17 of the 23 mocks that have been released so far and would have been exposed to a variety of combinations in terms of difficulty levels of mocks, both at the overall and at the section level. For the last two mocks, we've tried and kept the difficulty level as close to CAT as possible while bringing in a few tweaks here and there. How was iCAT24? iCAT24 is classified as a moderately difficult mock, more or less at par with CAT, with an average LOD of 1.95, close to 2. What is LOD? LOD implies a difficulty level defined at a question level, which can be 1, 2 or 3 for an easy, moderate or tough question respectively. So then this is allocated to a question, section or mock. How did this mock fare? With an average LOD of nearly 2, being a moderate mock, being similar to CAT, somewhere around 50 odd attempts would have been good, but we'll arrive at that number later when we analyze each section. Let's look at the verbal section first. Verbal was at par with the overall LOD of the entire exam. So you can also say that it was very similar to the actual CAT that you could have faced last year, with an average LOD again close to 1.95. The breakup of this section was again 24 and 10 in terms of RC and non-RC. However, within the RC section, you had 3 RCs with 6 questions each and 2 RCs with 3 questions each. So 5 RCs in all. This does make your life easier in terms of fewer RCs to read. At the same time, you need to keep in mind that each RC might get longer. Also, you have fewer choices in terms of topics if the kind of topics that you encounter in the RCs are not of your liking. What were these kind of topics here? So you had 5 RCs. The first one was on humanities in education. And before I go into that, let me talk about the difficulty level bell curve of these RCs. What do I mean by this? We need to see where the difficulty of the RCs was skewed. If we look at these RCs, there were 2 easy to moderate RCs, 2 purely moderate RCs and 1 on the tougher side. So it was a fairly evenly distributed mock in terms of difficulty. So then it all boils down to what were your choiciest topics. Let's look at the topics now. The easiest topics to handle were the 3 question RC on nonsense in art. Now this was something which would have appealed to the art student, might not appeal to the engineer, but depends on your reading. So you could have kept it optional. However, the 6 question RC on coffee consumption was not only easy to read but also easy in terms of questions. So that should definitely have been attempted. Then the 2 moderate RCs were the 6 question RCs on mysticism and the growth of Iran. The one on Iran was again a lot more factual in nature, so this could have been attempted. The one on mysticism would have been left to your choice based on your inclination. And the first RC was on the importance of humanities or arts in education. This was a slightly tougher RC. So broadly, if I look at it, 2 of the 3 6 question RCs were very doable. The ones on coffee and Iran were the ones that you should have tried in this mock. Among the remaining 3, you could have tried 2 or 3 questions here and there with probably focus on either the art or mysticism RC. In general, I would have tried and attempted 15 to 16 questions, probably 15 as far as the RCs are concerned. Coming to the non-RCs, we had the usual breakup of para jumbles, para summary and contextual odd man out. However, unlike the last 2 mocks, here the focus was more on the tougher parts of these 3 topics rather than the easier part. So you didn't really have too many easy questions to play with. So the number of good attempts in this part would have gone down to 2 or 3 questions really. In general, if I were to look at this entire verbal section, I would say that 15 attempts in the RCs and 3 in the non-RCs would be a good performance. In general, 18 attempts would be a good performance as far as this section is concerned. Let's move on to the next section, the toughest in the exam, DILR. As expected, DILR was the toughest as far as this mock was concerned. However, in terms of pure difficulty, it was slightly easier compared to the actual CAT. We did this deliberately so as not to scare students with a very difficult DILR section at the very end. Of course, you might still get that in iCAT25, that might be a surprise. But for this mock, it was a deliberate choice. Now with an average LOD close to 2.05, this can be considered significantly easier compared to the actual CAT, which means that instead of the 16 attempts that we normally recommend, you should try and attempt 20 questions of 5 sets. For that, you first need to identify the top 3 or the bare minimum 3 that you need to attempt and then move on to the next 2. So which were the sets that you should have attempted? There was one set on a bar graph plus line graph on furniture orders. Reasonably easy DI set, not very difficult to comprehend, so this is something you should have definitely attempted. One on a table on pharmaceutical companies, again a lot of DI orientation. This you could have attempted. Then there was a Venn diagram on 3 subjects, easy to solve. Yes, you should have tried this. There was one on a matrix on poker chips. Now this was slightly difficult and time consuming, so I would have kept it as my 4th or 5th set, but I would have done it definitely because after spending 15 minutes on this set, I would have got full marks on it. The last one was a fairly easy looking set of numerical logic on ice creams and jellies. Here the issue was that each question was conditional. So you had to get the basic data right. After having done that, you ought to have then applied each condition and solved it again and again. So I would have done the first 3 sets definitely and then tried to do these 2. If you were not comfortable, you could have skipped 1 or 2 questions within these sets here and there. But in general, these 5 sets is what I should have attempted in this mock. The remaining 3 could have been skipped as they were lot more difficult compared to these. 20 attempts would be a good performance for DILR with this difficulty level. In the actual exam, you can probably assume somewhere around 16 to 18 attempts. Finally, moving to quant, easiest section of this mock as well as of this exam. However, if I look at it, it was slightly tougher compared to the actual CAT. So, this particular mock was designed in such a way where you had an exact at par verbal, slightly easier DI and slightly tougher quant. What was the difficulty level here? 1.85, so that makes it marginally tougher. Now generally we tell students try and look out for the top 10 to 12 easy questions. Here when we did this analysis, we were able to find 11 such questions which were reasonably doable. If I look at the overall split, I saw that between questions 80 to 90, I could find around 7 to 8 such questions. So that was the chunk where all the easy questions were concentrated. The rest were all scattered between the remaining questions here and there. Again, if I look in terms of the overall breakup of the number of questions, I could find 4 of the 11 being from modern math, and then 2, in fact not even 4, 5 out of 11, so nearly half of them were from modern math and the rest were split between arithmetic, algebra and geometry. Now for a student who generally says that arithmetic and geometry are my strong points or I hate modern math, then this is a big scoring opportunity lost. Because the easiest, and these are tough chapters by concepts, PNC, functions, probability, sequences, etc. So if these have easy questions, your chances of scoring increase a lot. And somebody good at these would have really shot ahead in terms of the pecking order. So here again, like I keep saying all the time, you need to be reasonably good at all 4 sections to be able to maximize your marks over these sections in terms of the easy questions. These 11 plus 2 or 3 other questions here in the paper would have been a decent attempt. 14 to 15 attempts would have got you a good score as far as quant is concerned. On the whole, as I repeated, this was an average mock with an average verbal, slightly easier DI and a slightly tougher quant. The number of good attempts for this mock would have been 18, 20 and 14. So on the whole, I would say anywhere between 51 to 53 attempts would be a good performance as far as this mock is concerned. With one more mock to go, you need to be very prepared at this stage and try and put your best foot forward. iCAT25 is likelier to be more and more on the lines of the actual CAT 2016. So we would strongly recommend that you try out that mock. Wish you all the very best. You can subscribe to our channel for more videos. Thank you.